Perfect, fantastic. Hi everybody, Leticia here on this super hot summer afternoon, July the 9th, and I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. We were working on some technical difficulties here, and I am hosting my 5th Money Matters webinar series today. And the topic of today's webinar is a Toronto area real estate market update. Obviously, we have been going through some very unusual times in recent months, and normally the spring market when it comes to real estate is the busiest market of the year. And I just, obviously I'm curious myself as to what has been happening, and I'm sure many of you are as well. And joining me today, I have a wonderful business contact. He's Adam Hoffman, and he is a real estate professional from the Toronto area. And I'd like to just read a quick bio that he sent me, okay? Give me 1 second. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. Oh Lord, you sent it to me, Adam, and but there were a few emails that we exchanged. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, I have it. Okay, so Adam.
How about I speak for a moment?
I'll just say, I'll read your bio and then absolutely. So Adam is a real estate professional and former property management business owner. He helps buyers find their ideal home, including sourcing off-market properties. He also helps sellers sell for the highest price possible through more exposure. He guides landlords on how to find the best renters and manage their rentals for the most net income. And guys, I just want to commend Adam, first of all, for joining us today, joining me in particular, considering, as you all know, the kind of backlash I have been facing in recent days. And I want to just set the record straight that Adam doesn't necessarily agree with my stance on the mask situation or with whatever transpired during that incident. And as I noted in my email to you guys today, or to people in my mailing list, we live in a democracy where diverse opinions and diverse points of view are allowed and even encouraged. And if we lose our freedoms of speech and our fundamental freedoms, we're no longer in a democracy. So that's all I have to say about that. Adam, feel free to take it from here. And thank you once again for joining us. And oh, one last thing I want to say, everybody, we are not able to see, oh, there's a Q&A answer live. Oh, so apparently somebody did join us. So there are a number of people that have actually joined us on the Zoom call. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you, guys. We cannot hear you, but we can, no, we cannot answer. We cannot hear participants, but we can answer questions as much as possible. Fantastic. Thank you guys for joining. So once again, thanks, Adam, for joining us. So yeah, everybody, so our Zoom participants, we will answer questions as soon as we can. Facebook participants, we were not able to see the Facebook live. We will endeavor to answer any questions, or rather Adam will be glad to answer any questions following our conversation here, okay? So Adam, do you have anything to say about, choosing to be on this call today, if I may ask?
Sorry about that. You're wanting me to answer about, or is it time for me to talk?
Yeah, no. So obviously I introduced you. I wanted to, and I also mentioned that obviously when it comes to the recent situation that I was involved in, you may have some divergent views, and I just want to make it clear that we can all agree to disagree. But if you had anything to add in that with regards to that, to just kind of set the stage, please feel free.
Yeah, I guess, so forgive me, your audio cut it out there. Am I talking right now about mass or about real estate?
Well, again, it was initially, I spoke about the fact that when it comes to the recent mask issue, you and I don't necessarily we're not necessarily on the same page. And,
okay.
And well, from what I understand, and just based on that, I just want to say thank you in any case for agreeing to join us on the call today as a fellow professional to speak about the Toronto real estate market.
Sounds good. Do you want me to start talking about the real estate market?
Well, whatever you want to talk about, Adam. Essentially, so if we're going to talk about the real estate market, I do have a question for you. As
sure.
I mentioned in the introduction, we you know, normally the spring market is one of the busiest markets of the year for real estate sales. And so obviously we've been going through some very unusual times during the past 3-4 months. So I'm just wondering what your experience has been. What are you seeing in the market out there? Can you hear me, Adam? Oh, your screen froze. Oh my goodness.
I guess I hear you.
You can hear me?
Oh, I can see me. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you. You're kind of cutting in and out, unfortunately.
I can. Hopefully you can hear me. What happened was, hopefully through. In March, the market froze up because of COVID-19. Sales volume crashed. Prices started to soften, vary by area. As time went on, the transaction volume was limited, but properties were selling. Essentially, a lot of people decided they were going to wait and see before listing their homes for sale, and some buyers went on the sidelines, but there was enough buyers to absorb a lot of what has come to market in a little bit of the obvious that each area and property type has a little bit of a different market going on.
Okay. Once again, the audio is a little bit unstable. I'm going to see if I don't know if it's my network or yours, Adam. Okay. And so what are you noticing right now in the market, if I may ask? Can you still hear me? Oh my goodness. Technical difficulties, guys. I will see if I could potentially use my phone. Okay, people are just calling my phone off the hook. Okay. Okay. Oh, looks like we lost Adam. I hope he can join us. He mentioned to me that his phone might get overheated. Okay, well, while that is happening, Adam did share with me a few slides about kind of where the real estate market has been at in the past little while. Let me see if I could share those with you. Give me 1 second. Oh my goodness. Okay, my phone is just ringing off the hook. Okay. Thanks for your patience, everyone. I hope Adam can reconnect. Yeah, we are having, yes, we are having connection issues. Yes, we are. I hope we can get the connection fixed. I'm gonna see if I can use my phone. Okay, 1 second, guys. Thanks for bearing with us. Technical difficulties. I hope Adam can join us. He was concerned that his phone was gonna overheat. I'm gonna see. That would be unfortunate if his connection really dropped. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Personal hotspot on. Okay. Okay. Can rejoin us. I know what it's like, you know, it's very hot out today, and it's possible that his phone literally overheated. Can you come back? Okay. Oh well. Well, worst case scenario, guys, I do have a few slides that he sent me that I will be happy to share with you. You know, these things happen, technical difficulties, what can you do? Okay. Market trends update, but you know what? I just want to let you guys know, Adam is really awesome. He, you know, on his Facebook, and the reason I thought of inviting him is just because on his Facebook, he actually did a Facebook Live the other day in which he was exactly speaking about the the real estate market and the trends that he's seeing and what types of properties he foresees are going to be more in demand in the next little while, both for buyers and sellers. So he knows his stuff, and I really hope he can rejoin us back on the call. The only thing I can think happened was that his phone overheated on him, which can happen. It's probably like 40 degrees Celsius out there right now. So I'll share with you my screen. So at least we can look at some slides together. Give me 1 second. And I just wanted to know, I noticed that on the call with us, I have another realtor friend, Alina. Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, there you are. Okay. So these are the stats for the past little while. Okay, GTA showings and offers. Can you guys see my screen? I hope so. Okay. As you could see, and again, last week I had a seminar on buying your first property, and I remember my my mortgage broker friend telling me that up in February we were seeing multiple offers on properties. Like we were seeing an early bull market, and then of course, as soon as the COVID situation hit, there was a steep drop. However, as you can see, listings have gone up, and again, normally by the time you get towards the later part of the summer, things start cooling off. However, we're having sort of a late spring market from as far as I can see. Okay, a late boom, a late spring market. What else has he sent us here? GTA market trends last 30 days. Okay, lots of appointments. In terms of offers, you see, this is where I would love to have Adam, because I don't know what these things mean in terms of volume. I see some people are asking questions here. Okay, all right. GTA showings this week. I mean, okay, so there's been a bit of this is very in depth. Okay, new MLS, new exclusive solds. Okay, month after month. Okay, there's been an increase month over month. Okay, I couldn't hear. Okay, what is the question? Yes. Okay, I don't know what to say. Open. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure how to actually answer the questions because, again, tech support issues. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, yes, tech issues. Okay. Okay, I really hope Adam can still join us. Hopefully his phone comes back to life soon. If not, I think we may have to do this another time, guys, because I'm not the real estate expert here. I really was hoping Adam could share a few words. He's extremely capable. Once again, I heard him speak just the other day. He did a live stream. So worst case scenario, if we're not able to continue today's webinar, what I'll do is on my Facebook oh, okay, there he is. He's back. Thank goodness you're back, Adam.
Hey, you know what? Apparently my phone taps out at 35 degrees.
I know the same thing happened to me when I was in Ottawa last week, and it just same thing kept happening. So we can't see you yet. I don't know if you want to share your video again.
I don't actually have a video on my computer.
Okay, no worries. That's
until my phone works, I cannot.
No, I understand. Listen, thank you so much for joining us again. Thank you. So that's okay. So let's continue the conversation. I shared with our viewers the few slides that you sent me, although again, I'm not really familiar with the terminology. So I see that there's been obviously an uptick in listings and showings and offers. Okay.
Yeah, I guess essentially the idea is this, we had a big drop off in transaction flow and some pressure on pricing at the start of the pandemic. And as things progressed, as it went into May, I'll add, this varies a little bit by market and price point, pricing started to pick back up again, transaction volume started to pick back up, viewing started to pick back up, listings started to pick back up. And essentially you have a situation where The end result is there's a bit of a dip. There is now very, very competitive markets and often multiple offers in a lot of areas throughout the GTA. I'm going to give
Okay.
the caveat that all real estate is local, so you really have to examine the market dynamics on your particular property type, your particular price point in your specific narrow geographic area. I'll also add that certain areas aren't performing as well. In the downtown core, specific condo buildings, especially ones that had a large amount of micro units, short-term rentals or formerly short-term rentals. A lot of them have now been offered on the market for sale, and you have a glut of inventory. You have pricing
Really?
pressure with some prices down a fair bit since before the pandemic, and certainly, it looks like that they may play out longer in some buildings. On the other hand, certain buildings have been doing quite well and really have gained valuation over the last couple months since the bottom of the pandemic. So
So
you
we're
really
talking about condo buildings, Adam, just to be,
absolutely, in this particular
okay.
condo buildings. In general, the market dynamic throughout the GTA is very positive. In certain condo buildings, very positive, and in specific buildings, there's been more of a drag than others, and is really, in general, a story of percentage of owner-occupied versus rental units, and
Okay.
the ability for the owner-occupied market to absorb former rental units. And what I mean by that
Right.
is,
No, I
if
understand.
there's a building with rental units that there had a lot of rental units, but maybe they're 800 square feet and appeal to owner occupiers, and are in a community, they're probably doing a little bit better than buildings that have a high degree of rental units, but they're 500 or 400 square feet and right near the harbor front.
Right. Okay. I understand. So where are you seeing, I mean, in the past, as you actually put, a lot of condos were being sold to for rental purposes, and we even know there were a lot of out-of-country buyers, which caused the whole foreign buyer tax to come into effect about 2 years ago now. So are we still so right now? And I know, like Toronto, prior to the lockdown, so to speak, we had a very vibrant short-term rentals market. We had, Airbnb was extremely hot. So now are you now saying that because we're obviously not seeing the level of travel we were seeing to our city before, do you see any of those now being converted to long-term rentals, or is it
Absolutely,
people are just
absolutely. So essentially, you've seen a transition from units that were short-term rentals to long-term rentals, from long-term rentals to being taken off the rental market and offered for sale, and short-term rentals sometimes not finding the renter at the right price they want or the right type of renter, and also being taken off the rental market. So going from short-term rental to long-term rental offering to being offered for sale. And you now have select buildings where you have very little inventory, and you have select buildings where you have huge amount of units offered for rent and for sale. And you really got to look at a case-by-case basis. If you want to talk in generality, in general, downtown core, smaller units, buildings that had a lot of Airbnb, not as strong performance. And in general, we've had also 5 to 10%, sometimes even more, especially with short-term rentals, 50% plus potentially. From converting short-term to long, drop in rental rates, a longer lease up, an increase in vacancy, and then the big question, will you have students returning back to school as normal, and international students also with very specific pockets in certain buildings that have a significant portion that we're sort of relying on the rental rates that were only happening because of students, and all of a sudden you may be a situation you're a landlord, you may be looking at year-over-year rental rates of dropping 15% or more.
Wow, even the rental rates 15% or more drop. I mean,
absolutely. And I will give the caveat, not market wide, specific building basis, but yes, absolutely. And even market wide, I'll give the caveat, I don't know the future. Will there be a second wave of COVID-19, more shutdowns? Will we see opening of the borders and immigration allowing? I don't know. But as of right now, you are seeing definitely some suffering for a lot of condo investors.
Got it. Thank you for making that clear. And I actually also wanted to ask you, Adam, because prior to this situation that we were in, Toronto's even long-term rental market was extremely hot. As you well know, we had an extremely low vacancy rate, like just upwards of 1%. Are we still seeing those kinds of even when it comes? I mean, you actually just mentioned to me that that we're seeing an overall drop in the overall rental rates. Is that because now we have all this extra inventory on the market that was previously Airbnb's short-term rentals, that is now becoming long-term rentals. So therefore, there's a lot more inventory on the market for the long-term rentals. Is that what we're seeing? Do you think that's the main cause, or do you think there's something else contributing?
Yeah, I think we have a whole host of factors all happening at once, and you can't necessarily, there's so many balls in the air to find out what will happen in the future is all speculation. But yeah, we've just had so many different things going on right now, and you have a really, really interesting market to study. One thing I do want to add, though, that I didn't get before because you're posting the statistics, there has been a bit of a drop off in offers and viewings in the most recent statistics. This is, certainly you can only look how things play in the future, but most likely this last week is because of the holiday.
Well,
And
Canada Day,
if any
of
of these are
course.
giving any of the viewers a little bit of, wait, what's going on? Why was there such a boom bust cycle over such a fast period of time? Well, the holiday probably helps to explain the last week.
Okay. Okay. Somebody, this gentleman who's online keeps that. I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm not able to actually see his questions. So I see it. I see the Q&A.
Steve has a question for me about condos, but I don't actually know what the question is. So we'll find out.
Yeah. And again, if there are any questions on Facebook, everyone, we will look at everything once, towards the end of the conversation. Okay. So my other question is, considering what you just shared, that there's greater inventory and obviously more properties available for sale, would you say that this presents buying opportunities, whether for first-time home buyers or for investors? And again, we know there are many different types of investors. So I guess my question really is, where do you see some opportunities right now in the
That's a great question. I want to give a multifaceted answer to that. And my first answer, you said it, so I'm happy you did. My first portion is, I'll give a caveat. No one knows the future. We can only look to what's actually happening in the market data and make analysis based on that. But in this case, you're really going to have to make a bet based on your future vision of the world. Certainly, there are many people that think this COVID-19 lockdown in the last few months was a poor government policy response and an overreaction, and it will go down as possibly one of the biggest public policy mistakes of the last 50 plus years.
I would agree with you with that.
There are,
yeah.
I am not just speaking to you and your audience. By the way, anyone who doesn't know me, I do believe you should wear a mask in the hospital when someone asks you to. So don't want to get any hate mail after this because of that. Next thing I'll add is, however, there are other people that have a vision of the world that's saying that COVID-19 is not over and we may have a second wave. There may be further shutdowns. There is another school of thought that says we could talk about future infectious disease protocols all we want. The reality is we've had a major economic shock. We have not seen that valued into the real estate market yet. There have been government support programs put in place that have not eliminated pain but pushed it further down the road. And the question becomes, to what extent do we see in 2 months or 5 months or 7 months from now the impact of people losing their businesses, losing their jobs, reductions in income, impact the housing market, and how much of that is going to be nullified by the CERB on the various business government supports and based on the ease and lowering of cost of financing if applicable. And and then the other aspect of this as well, even if we do have a big demand shock because of this, that's just now been pushed forward and might happen in the future. The big
So what do you mean by a demand shock?
I mean, demand shock is these things that I just mentioned, the job losses, the business losses. These things will be should be in theory a huge shock to demand and reduce demand, which should in turn reduce prices and rent rates. Now, the whole thing is, you could take the position, well, there's other data points that says these are being somewhat mitigated. These negative effects on demand and what should be reducing prices are being somewhat mitigated by the government response, the CRB, and the funding to businesses, and the access to financing. And then the question becomes is,
That's right,
Wait,
because mortgage rates, sorry for interrupting, Adam, mortgage rates continue at record lows, which you would think, as my mortgage broker a friend was stating last week, you would think that's being done to continue stimulating demand in the real estate market. And in her opinion, considering the overall, downturn in the economy, she didn't think rates were going to be going up anytime soon.
yeah,
So
it certainly has seemed to done what it was intended to. Certainly, the demand seems to be there. Part of it too, though, is the other aspect of this is the supply equation. And from a supply side, we've seen until recently a significant reduction in the amount of people listing their homes for sale. So there's a big wild card. Do we go from a scenario?
really,
Yeah. So there's a big wild card. The question becomes: 2 months ago, there's less on the market. Now more and more places are coming out. Do we have a situation in 3 months from now? People that would have been more motivated to list their houses for sale in April, now putting their house on the market, and do we have this massive flood of supply that's exacerbated from people now needing to sell? That, let's say, if you ran a restaurant and you are now in a situation where you've been holding off, well, maybe your business and your life, potentially your life's work, might be ruined. So all of a sudden, do we see a huge supply increase from this? I don't know. I'm not trying to make a prediction. I will say I have a little bit of better analysis on a market by market basis on which I think will sort of perform better and underperform. But
so what would you say? And I know you made a few comments
yeah.
On your Facebook recently. So I would actually, I think that was actually very insightful of you, and I would love to hear you say. So in terms of market segments, where do you see things going?
Sounds good. I just want to add one other thing. I'm sure you noticed I can talk for hours on this. One other thing I
No,
will
you're
add.
awesome. You're
Another
awesome.
big demand wild card is how much does the world open up? Because ultimately this impacts immigration and our ability for our rental market and sales market to be absorbed. It's certainly been a massive driver of both rent growth and price growth over, well, for a long time in the Toronto market, sort of going back to the year 2000, going out of the 1990s housing recession. To answer your question directly for your most recent question, I'm certainly going to say I'll give the caveat this will vary by market. For many of the markets in the GTA, I think stacked townhouses are going to be positioned to market outperform, and those condo units with direct entry and outdoor space relative to ones in the same building that don't. However, I'll give the caveat that I think there's going to be a little bit difference in markets and property types based on your specific market.
That makes sense, because especially when with the safety concerns around COVID, which I understand many people still have, access to your own outdoor space, such as a patio, backyard, and stacked townhouses. I think you mentioned that because of affordability as well. Is that correct, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a flight to outdoor space, reducing their needing to go in common areas of the building and more square footage. And I think people, everyone wants to buy a detached house to 5-minute walk from their work, even if they're working on Bay Street. But not a lot of people have the $5 million to buy the detached house at Yonge and College, or $2 million potentially if you're working at Yonge and Eglinton. So I think the idea is that's what's really going to be posed for that shift in demand. The purchaser that would have otherwise, the marginal purchaser that would have otherwise gone to a condo apartment and loved their view on the 30th floor, a portion of those are all of a sudden be saying, you know what, I don't really want to be going in an elevator in the hallways.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all that if we were to see an uptick in the prices of those buildings. Would you agree, of those buildings, of those types of listings? Do you potentially the price for these types of properties would continue holding steady and potentially even rising in light of what you just said? Is that what you're thinking?
You know what? I don't. I want to. I don't want to give a direct answer to this question and potentially mislead anyone. because I think the reality is there are just too many balls in the air right now to talk about pricing. And the
Yeah.
reason being essentially, well, are we talking about pricing in 1 month from now or 10 months from now? I think the more you look at, I say, well, over the next month or 2 months, I think you're going to see some price upward pressure on some of those places. And I'll say think, because I'll give that caveat. Listen, the
Mhm.
reality is, who knows? There could be a nuclear war tomorrow and the world can change. I think the
Yeah.
farther out we go in our time frame, the general idea is, at least a lot of people are an advocate of, hey, buy real estate for the long term. I think in sort of the more we go out from the immediate short term to the short term to immediate term, I think the more there is a gray area of how will the housing market and the economy in generally absorb what's happened. Will the government's efforts to, essentially provide ease of access to financing and income supports provide the stability that they had planned for?
Got it. And you know, previously to this, we had such a hot real estate market, and we know that many people were doing house flips. Now, do you see? And I know you're quite familiar with real estate investing yourself, and you've worked in property management. Do you have any comments to make with regards to any potential investment opportunities for people who have that interest?
Yeah, I do, and last thing I want to do is send someone on the path that's not good for them. I think people really need to examine their own financial situation and ensure that if the negative scenario does happen, that they're sitting there with a cash reserve, that they plan to be comfortable with the potential for lower lease rates and less occupancy. I think one of the things to sort of focus on, if it was me, and I'll use in general because certain markets I would feel different. I mean, if someone's looking in Oshawa, well, all of a sudden the idea is, I'm not saying focus on stacked townhouses. There's a little bit of an affordability difference buying a detached house in Oshawa than a
100%,
young in college.
for
So
sure.
that being said, in general, if I was looking to pick up an investment property now, I'd be looking at it select lower cost of entry stacked townhouses near easily accessible to major office nodes in public transit, and that have exterior space. So there's some smaller square footage units that do have some pretty nice rooftop patios or pretty nice ground level patios, and have direct entry from the exterior, and have the same sort of walkable benefits of these high-rise condos. A 5 or 10 minute walk to the subway and shops, and it sort of provides that urban dense lifestyle people want without some of those now, especially important because of COVID-19. And I want to add to everyone else too. If you think this COVID-19 is overblown and it ends here and just the world normalizes, there still might be a psychological hangover effect impacting markets for we don't know how long. So I'm still sticking with that as a market outperform. I will give the caveat again, though. It comes down to which market and which entry point and which exit point.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess the other question I had, Adam, and I don't know if your focus is primarily on residential real estate, or if you can make any comments with regards to commercial real estate. And then if you're not comfortable answering, I completely understand. I guess the question I have with regards to commercial real estate, we have by government mandates, we've had a lot of small businesses who were previously commercial tenants, even have either having to close down completely, retail businesses either having to completely shut down, or due to increasingly onerous regulations, such as the social distancing and the capacity requirements for restaurants, it's very likely that some of these businesses won't be able to survive. So I guess my question is, what do you see happening with all these commercial properties that are currently becoming vacant, retail properties becoming vacant, or more so, not full retail, but we may be dealing with a mixed use property that, your regular strip plaza, or mixed use commercial properties that now have, retail spaces on the ground. What do you potentially see happening to those spaces and to these properties?
Wow. I potentially see a gazillion different scenarios depending on how this plays out. I don't want to I don't want to give a firm answer because it's really a lot of it's going to depend on what happens with the social distancing restrictions. And certainly our society is designed in a way that it is because of what people want it to be. People want to go to restaurants. They want to eat out. They don't
Of
like
course.
preparing food. They don't like having to chop vegetables. They don't like having to cook. They do like meeting people and socializing.
That's
Don't get
pretty
me wrong. I like
accurate.
cooking at times. And the idea being, if we see normalization and there certainly isn't as much of a public health threat, I think a lot of people will be coming back to restaurants. Now,
For
the
sure.
question becomes, will we see this normalization in terms of government mandate, and will there still be any actual threat to health? So what I mean by that is, if the government opens up everything in the future, but there's still this overhanging fear of contracting the virus, this will potentially reduce demand. And certainly the amount of revenue per square foot will go down, and in turn lease rates will go down, or the ability for certain businesses to operate go down, in turn commercial valuations will go down. There's a lot of ifs though. And the reality is this, unfortunately, a lot of people with retail right now aren't going to be able to reopen. There's only so much money you can burn through. It's a whole, I
Yeah.
feel for a
And
lot of these people, absolutely tell us
$40,000, those loans.
incredibly horrendous situation. I certainly, I'd love to be positive and say I hope the world's normal soon. However, it certainly seems like we got a bit more to go until that is. And with this, I certainly, my best guess is there will be some reduction in valuation for retail lease rates, and some potentially some opportunities for the right people to enter the restaurant market if we see a normalization of life. And
Yeah.
I guess depending on your vision of the world, and certainly we know where you stand, but depending on the vision world, I guess it's going to speak to
My
which
stand is
bet
that I
you want
want
to
the
make.
old normal back, okay? I want the old normal back.
No
That's
problem.
why.
I want to add one more thing for the people putting these comments and questions. Look, guys, I'm here to talk about real estate. I support wearing masks in the hospital when asked for. If you guys have any significant comments on why it's desirable to wear masks in the hospital and evidence for this, not just actual hatred, throw it in the comments on Facebook. I'm sure we'll all read it, and you never know, maybe you'll change people's opinions. Getting back to retail though, very, very certainly crushing situation for a lot of business owners. And hey Brad, I love you too.
Yeah, I'm not able to see anything on Facebook. Oh, these are okay. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. Like some people chose to join us just to spread some hate. That's fine. Okay, it's fine. We're gonna keep being professional and nice, and if people just want to behave otherwise, that's their prerogative anyway. Removed. So Adam, do you see, the other question I had is, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the process, but in some cases I've seen, even prior to COVID, I sometimes would walk by a commercial building that had been vacant for a while. The retail space was vacant for a while, and then all of a sudden I see that it's been converted to a residential unit. Is that, from your experience, and again, I don't know if you have, how much experience you have with that, but is this, how likely or how easy is it to do that sort of a conversion? Do you have
Forgive me, cut out there. How, like, which type of conversion?
So again, I've previously seen buildings where they had a long-term vacancy on the main floor, which was a retail space, but it had been vacant for a while. And this is even prior to COVID, but now we're going to be dealing with a situation.
Oh, in terms of converting to residential?
Correct. Yeah. Like,
you know what? That's a great question. Case by case scenario. It can be incredibly costly, even if there is no city zoning issue, because of the plumbing that needs to be upgraded and the placement of the plumbing. If you think of it, but hey, all of a sudden you have a situation. If you're trying to add 10 washrooms and 10 kitchens, there can be a fair amount of work involved. There are some major barriers. I mean, at the end of the day, some of these places aren't going to be economical to repurpose. I think a lot of them are sitting on development valued land, and so their highest and best use very well might be demolishment. With another wild card there is, does new construction sales keep getting absorbed, and what is the actual cost to build out? we've had assumedly some changes in the valuation of materials, but then you have what are the potential costs on labor, especially if
Changes as
there's
in,
social distancing of, social distancing of construction labor could be a major cost driver in the future. If there's mandated social distancing and disinfecting procedures for, everyone working on a building, we don't know how things will change in the future. So, but I think for a significant portion of these sites, these highest and best use of them, unfortunately, might become unfortunately for the current business
redevelopment.
owners there,
Yeah.
for the people that are owning retail that's going out of business, unfortunately, a lot of them might not be viable as standalone retail anymore, and some of them are already their highest and best use has been development land, and they're just waiting for developers to get their
Yeah, and I
plans in
mean,
place.
And I would say that's definitely the case with, well, again, I'm not the market expert, but I mean, we see, I would agree with you, because we see a lot of buildings that are, a little bit tired looking, these mixed use properties in especially like the old parts of Toronto. And yeah, I hear what you're saying. And speaking of that, like, based on your experience, is there openness on the part of city council to of the municipality to do these conversions? Is that, I mean, I know prior to COVID that was
You're really going to be looking at a case by case basis. There's just so many things that, depending on the particular area and the particular site, there's environmental considerations, there's potential parking requirements, there's potential development service charges, there's structural charges, and never mind that, there's just these, and the highest and best use of really that the site might not be best use a conversion of the pre-existing building.
okay.
And what I mean is demolishment and a rebuild, whether that's residential or whatever else.
Okay. And then my other question would be, I mean, I'm just kind of thinking as you're sharing, and it's not related to the last question. My question would be, what are there any areas of the city or even of the GTA that you're seeing people be more interested in versus others? I mean, and what comes to mind, I mean, many people enjoy the condo lifestyle, but that's also because they had to go to a job that was, walking distance on Bay Street or what have you. But now I guess my question is, with more and more people working from home, there's not necessarily a need to be so close to your office anymore. So I know it's still pretty early in the game, and some people may think, well, we're going to go back to the office, but do you foresee any change in buying patterns based on the fact that people are no longer in a situation of needing to be so close to the office?
Great question. Absolutely. And the question becomes, how long does it continue on, and to what extent is this mitigated by population growth in the future if the borders are open? There's a lot of wild cards in hand, and certainly a lot of businesses are going to be permanently re-examining their office space. And then the question becomes too, is there a supply increase from office conversions to residential? Certainly there might be a lot of empty floors in certain office high rises that that they could be better utilized for residential if it's economical and allowed, and they really got to be looking at some case by case basis in terms of the actual plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and everything else.
Yeah, and I was on a call a few weeks ago where a gentleman by the name of Bruce Firestone, he's a very successful and well-known real estate investor. He was talking about the fact that hotels have taken a big hit, and I thought it was fascinating that he was telling me that hotels are now looking at converting to long-term rentals, kind of standalone bachelor type suites, or so there's even that. I mean, what can happen?
And I think there's been places in Toronto like Yorkville where you've seen things like that in the past. It's already happened pre-COVID. So absolutely. So there's so many different facets to this, and there's so many different ways this can go. I think anyone that is buying or selling right now should humble themselves and appreciate whatever vision of the world they have may or may not happen. Just be aware of the potential different ways that it could go, and that you're comfortable taking action, being aware of it.
Okay. What I'd like to do, Adam, and thank you so much for all your insights. And I know we're still in a very fluid situation, and none of us has the crystal ball. I mean, we all can take our best guess, but I think you've made some good points about, you know, what style of housing you see as being more in demand, if any, and that makes a lot of sense. You know, the transition from high rise buildings to potentially stacked townhouses, or yeah, ideally people are going to want even more privacy than before, and to the extent that those types of listings are available, that would be you know, a good buying opportunity for people, or at least it meets the demands or the needs of the I guess post-COVID world. You know, any concluding remarks there, Adam? Anything else that comes to mind? Because we've covered a lot of ground, and thank you again very much for your insights.
Yes, yes. I want to make clear all real estate is local. All market dynamics are subject to change. Be aware, plan for the upside, but plan for the downside as well. And to be clear, I'm an advocate for wearing masks in hospitals when people request it. And let's hear in the comments some information you can provide of your perspective on this. Thanks so much for having me. And
my pleasure, my pleasure.
Anyone listening, reach out. Don't hesitate to reach out. I love talking about real estate if you have any questions and aren't already working with a realtor.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Before you go, I actually want to see now if we could go back to Facebook and see if anybody has asked any questions on there. Do you mind?
I'd go for it.
Okay. No, I don't see any questions. Okay, I see you commented. Fantastic. Thanks, Adam. Okay, so I think we're good to go. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And just so you know, Adam, a lot of times people will watch the show after, like, it not live, but people will still watch the live stream. So thanks again very much for joining us, and have a great rest of the week, everybody. Okay, blessings. Take care.